Prologue. The guy with the bow. Let's talk about the most mocked man in modern pop culture. When casual audiences look at the Avengers lineup, they see a super soldier, a techno god, a green rage monster, and an actual deity from Norse myth. And then, they see a guy from Iowa with a bow and arrow. For years, Hawkeye has been the butt of the joke. The internet is filled with memes asking why a guy who belongs in a Renaissance fair is fighting alongside a billionaire in a flying tank. But if you look past the superficial jokes and look at Clint Barton's biography, you realize the punchline isn't funny. It's devastating. Clint Barton doesn't have a magic hammer to absorb G-forces. He doesn't have an armor plating to deflect shrapnel. He doesn't have a serum to knit his muscles back together overnight. To be Hawkeye is to be a regular, fragile human being trapped in a meat grinder designed for gods. He is a man who has to fight cosmic terrors knowing that a single stray piece of rebar or one bad landing won't just bruise him, it will kill him. He's the only Avenger who feels the full, unmitigated weight of every single broken bone, every concussive shockwave, and every psychological trauma without any biological cushion to soften the blow. Today, we are taking Hawkeye completely seriously. We are throwing away the memes to look at the brutal, isolating, and heartbreaking reality of the most grounded man in the Marvel Universe. This is why it absolutely sucks to be Hawkeye. Chapter 1. The Physics of Fragility. Let's start with the physical reality of his job. When Iron Man falls through a roof, the suit absorbs the impact. When Hawkeye jumps off a roof in New York, hooks a grapple arrow to a building, and swings through a glass window, his ribs take the full force of the deceleration. His shoulders absorb the violent jerk of the cable. Clint Barton is a high-performance athlete operating in a war zone where the speed limit is Mach 3. Think about what it takes to pull a war bow. A standard medieval longbow has a draw weight of about 100 pounds. Clint's custom bows are likely much heavier to penetrate Chitauri armor. Pulling that string back hundreds of times a day, year after year, doesn't just make you strong. It tears your rotatory cuffs to shreds. It destroys your elbow joints. It causes micro tears in your spine. By the time we reach his Disney Plus series, Hawkeye, we see the biological bill for his career coming due. He is wearing a hearing aid. Of course he is. He has spent a decade standing next to exploding trick arrows, supersonic jet engines, and the roaring thunderclaps of Thor without a helmet. He has chronic tinnitus and severe hearing loss. While other heroes walk away from a battle looking cinematic, Clint walks away with ice packs strapped to his knees and a bottle of high-strength ibuprofen in his hand. He is a human body running on borrowed time. Chapter 2. The Curse of Mind Control. But the physical pain is nothing compared to what Loki did to his mind. In the Avengers, Clint is the first major hero captured. He isn't beaten in a fistfight. His mind is actively hijacked by the Mind Stone. For the entire first half of that movie, Clint Barton is a meat puppet. He is forced to use his perfect tactical mind, his flawless aim, and his deep knowledge of SHIELD to slaughter his own friends and colleagues. And here's the kicker. He remembers it all. The mind control didn't give him amnesia. When Natasha beats him and breaks the connection, Clint sits in a dark room on the helicarrier, shaking and sweating, and asks, "Do you know what it's like to be unmade?" He had to live with the knowledge that his hands, his eyes, and his skills, the things he dedicated his life to perfecting, were turned against everything he cared about. He knew the exact trajectories he had calculated to kill guards he used to eat lunch with. That is a violation of the soul. The other Avengers fought external monsters. Clint had to watch himself become the monster, totally powerless to stop his own fingers from letting go of the bowstring. Chapter 3. The Ghost of Ronin. The deepest, darkest valley of Clint's life happens in the opening minutes of Avengers Endgame. He's standing in his backyard, teaching his daughter how to shoot a bow, turning around for a split second, and turning back to find nothing but dust blowing in the wind. While characters like Tony Stark had a daughter to raise during those 5 years, and Steve Rogers had a support group to lead, Clint Barton completely snapped. He didn't put on a black suit to be a hero, he put it on because he wanted to die. He became Ronin. Clint looked at a universe where half of all life was wiped out and asked a fundamentally broken question. Why did my innocent family die? At the same time, international cartels, murderers, and human traffickers got to keep breathing. He spent 5 years traveling the globe, hunting down the worst of humanity and slaughtering them with a sword. He didn't lock them up, he executed them. It was a 5-year-long suicide note. He thought that if he made himself monstrous enough, eventually someone would be fast enough to put a bullet in his head. The psychological stain of the Ronin era doesn't leave him when the snap is reversed. When his family comes back, they get their warm, loving father. But Clint has to look at them knowing he spent half a decade turning himself into a mass murderer. He has a secret ledger that is just as red as Black Widow's, and he has to carry that shadow into every family dinner for the rest of his life. Chapter 4, The Vormir Debt. And that brings us to the ultimate tragedy on Vormir. When Clint and Natasha travel to get the Soul Stone, they find out the price, a soul for a soul. What follows is one of the most heartbreaking scenes in the entire franchise. Two best friends, two broken spies, physically fighting each other, not to survive, but to be the one who gets to die. Clint desperately wants to jump. He believes his actions as Ronin mean his life is worth less than nothing. He wants to buy Natasha's future with his own death. But she outmaneuvers him. Imagine the horror of waking up on that shallow lake, holding the Soul Stone, knowing that your best friend, the person who saved you from your own darkness, is dead on a rock millions of light years away. There is no magic spell, no time travel trick, and no infinity stone that can ever bring her back. When Clint returns to the present, he has to tell the team she's gone. He has to look at her empty seat in the Quinjet. Every time he looks at his family, every time he hugs his kids, he is reminded that their lives were paid for by the corpse of Natasha Romanoff. His happiness is built on a foundation of profound survivor's guilt. Epilogue: The burden of the anchor. In the end, Clint Barton is the anchor of the Avengers. He is the normal guy who keeps the gods connected to the earth. When Wanda Maximoff is panicking in Sokovia, it's Clint who tells her, "The city is flying, we're fighting an army of robots, and I have a bow and arrow." None of this makes sense. But if you step out that door, you are an Avenger. He gives everyone else their strength, but he has to pay for his own out of pocket. It sucks to be Hawkeye because you don't get the luxury of detachment. You don't get to fly away to space like Thor, or turn off your brain like the Hulk. You have to stay grounded. You have to feel the broken bones, you have to hear the ringing in your ears, and you have to look at the blood on your hands with perfect, unblurred vision. He is the man who never misses. We'll figure it out. But when your life is a series of tragedies, perfect aim just means you have a front row seat to every single arrow that pierces your own heart. Thanks for staying through this breakdown of the most human Avenger. If you want to continue digging into the psychological and physical realities behind your favorite pop culture icons, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Does Clint Barton deserve more respect? Or do you still think he's just the guy with the bow? Until next time, take care of your joints. We look at Tom Holland's Spider-Man and see the ultimate teenage dream. High-tech Stark suits, international school trips, and the coolest friends a hero could ask for. But under that youthful grin lies the most brutalized hero in the MCU. A kid who lost his mentor, his family, and eventually, his entire identity. Forced to watch the people he loves look him dead in the eye and have no idea who he is. Next week, we're tearing down the playground to see the loneliest kid in New York. Why it really sucks to be Tom Holland's Spider-Man? Subscribe and don't miss it.